Hello everybody, it's Friday and we have work to do because it's TLF, Tier List Fridays, and today we're looking at the healers in the raid.
Yes, yeah. It is the Sanctum of Domination tier list, and today we're going to be looking at, it's kind of hard to judge healers as it is with tanks based on just pure logs, because basically the rankings, if you look on the screen right now, let's say the easiest ranking that you're going to see is probably the HPS one, and it's kind of skewed. It's not 100% the representation of what the best healer is, or at least what the most popular healer is in clearing mythic. So we're going to be looking at kind of like the top 100 and the distribution of healers within that ranking and see what is mostly used. And we're kind of gonna base that around there because not much changed for healers since 9.0.5. The strengths kind of remained, like some nerfs here and there for Holy Paladin especially.
That didn't really change too much. So just to make it more easier, it's basically rankings more based on popularity. Of course, we're gonna look at some numbers, but the decision is, you know, top 100 popular.
People haven't cleared the raid yet fully, not a lot of them. So they're obviously not gonna like cheese things yet. Maybe they can on certain bosses, but the later bosses probably cannot be cheesed right now if people are still progressing. So that's why we think it's probably better to see like what are the most used healers right now in terms of a mythic progression.
Yes, and let's just start it off directly with our already like classical intro for these tier lists on healer Discipline Priest.
Which I mean, it doesn't. With all the Covenant Legendaries ups and downs, it's a little bit. I actually have no idea what the Covenant Legendaries are for Discipline Priest that are being used, but that's not the point because historically, Discipline Priest has had the same strengths, and the strengths that have been making it one of the best healers. You've definitely seen it in the Race of the World first. It's an easy S tier because together with another healer.
I mean, yeah, we'll get to that.
Aside, this is the
spiritual
damage suppression, dome, you know, power word barrier.
Yeah, rapture and all of that. It's and also, you know, a lot of people don't understand is that, you know, okay, it's not made to be spamming Shadowlands, but Shadowlands is one of the most, if not the most, biggest single target casted heals in the game. So that can also help on top of everything a priest can bring. Power infusion? I don't know.
Yeah,
we can talk all day about it.
But at the end of the day, like we mentioned, what the most important thing for healers to keep them really strong is damage reduction cooldowns and damage absorption cooldowns.
Yeah. I mean,
and that's Discipline Priest.
It's Discipline Priest 100%, and you've seen it in Castle Nathria as well. For the more or less the same reasons, it's an S tier all around based on popularity, and you've seen it everywhere. Now let's move on to one of the most, I would say, beaten horses in recent times in terms of healer meta, and that is the Holy Paladin.
That is the Holy Paladin, which has had its damage nerfed, but not enough where it damages shit. It's still the highest damage if you look at the DPS logs. This is basically how you can see the healers ranked by their DPS. And Holy Paladin is still #1 by quite a bit, maybe not as much as before, but it is really high up there, which is a really big contrast. We're gonna look right now at the HPS logs as well. And obviously we're gonna put Holy Paladin to S tier.
Oh my god, no, I didn't expect that.
Even more popular than Discipline Priest for a couple of reasons. First of all, the damage is still good. It's good to have a little bit of DPS from a healer that gets to push the boss past that phase a little bit sooner. It has damage reduction, aura mastery is bonkers, and obviously the healing is not too shabby as well, but mostly because of all these tools coming together, we'll put these two healers into S tier. And if you look at the HPS logs, you'll see that they're kind of at the bottom.
Yeah, this is very interesting, right?
So raw throughput is good, but not what essentially might help you when your gear is pretty low.
This is the thing, right? It makes you wonder, okay, what is Blizzard actually valuing in terms of these fights? In each season, are they valuing, you know, strong HPS as a healer would normally bring out, or are they valuing, you know, things like DPS and damage prevention and, you know, all combination of these? It's interesting to see because in terms of HPS they're bottom, but in terms of like damage they're top.
Pretty up there. Well, we did talk with a bunch of boys about the top healers in our podcast, and the majority consensus is that the lower in gear you are, the better damage reduction is, because the higher the hit that comes in is. So the damage reduction percentage just takes a bigger chunk out of that entire damage that doesn't need to be healed. So sure, you have something like Mistweaver who's like pumping crazy numbers, but Mistweaver cannot stop you from taking damage, it just can heal you. And if you get one shot, or if you die before the Mistweaver can put the healing on you, then
Yeah, that's the thing. We discussed a lot about the Mistweaver specifically in our podcast. You can go check it out, you know, the Mistweaver, State of Mistweaver in Shadowlands. But let's keep it in the realm of holiness and go on to the Holy Priest. Which Holy Priest is kind of like middle of the pack in both sides of the spectrum. It's doing
it's not that
good HPS.
I mean, the HPS for Holy Priest is not particularly bad. It was never really bad. There's obviously the glaring issue that if you're playing a Holy Priest, you also have access to Discipline Priest that's right there, just like one button away from being a button to press to get you to greatness. So because of that, obviously the Holy Priest popularity is actually kind of the lowest right now. I think I might have seen maybe one Holy Priest in the top 100. I could be mistaken. That could obviously change by the time you watch the video. But as of right now, Holy Priest is the sad D tier. Now that doesn't mean it's bad. That just means that there's a difference in usage between the rest of the healers and the rest of the tiers and the Holy Priest. Obviously, Holy is still capable of clearing Mythic. It just doesn't have the tools that Discipline has. It doesn't have the damage that Discipline has. Unfortunately, apparently at least.
Again, I hope we disclaimed it enough. So this tier list is not based on what we think it's D tier and S tier. No, this is based on, you know, top 100 and in terms of more like popularity, what players and guilds have chosen to play. So we can add to that, you know, our experience with these and such, and we can totally vouch for a Holy Priest being able to, you know, perform well in a Mythic environment, not even going to go into Heroic. Every healer can do Heroic, no problemo. But that being said, it's a D tier based on all of these.
Oh yeah.
And let's
now that we've established the S tier and the D tiers, let's check the middle of the pack and talk about
meat.
The before mentioned Mistweaver, which has received buffs coming into 9.1.
Yep.
You might have seen us talk about them in the podcast, might have seen them talk about in multiple videos, especially if you're in the Peak of Serenity community. Mistweaver is not too bad. It's not a particularly bad heal. It has really good throughput. It has decent damage. Apparently, it's like third in damage
buffs
right
work.
now.
Yeah, the buffs work. You can definitely see the reflection of the buffs in both damage and HPS. You mentioned it's in terms of like pure healing numbers, it's the top healer. And in terms of damage, it's, you know, right after Discipline.
Pretty high above the bottom.
Yeah. I mean, it's better than Holy Priest, Resto Shaman, and Resto Druid. So I can definitely say it as being super viable. Probably a B tier.
See, that's the thing, because I think Mistweaver might be a little bit better than B tier, but probably moving from 905, where it was maybe the most underplayed healer, it kind of suffers from that popularity. Maybe not a lot of people have kind of caught up on it and picked it up, so I feel like it could be a little bit better. But right now, just looking at the representation in the top 100, Mistweaver is really not that much there.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head over there, just because Mistweaver doesn't really have damage prevention tools, right? Some of the other healers we're gonna look at, I mean, the remaining ones do have this, but they may be lacking in other departments. But let's just move forward to the Resto Druid, one of my favorite healers this expansion. At the very least, it's in terms of like pure numbers, it's right behind Mistweaver. It's pumping a lot of numbers, but the damage in the damage department, I think it's last.
I think it's been hit pretty hard with the fact that you don't have because Resto Druid was decent in damage in BFA, having the Azurite power that buffed the Sunfire and all of that stuff, and you could still cat weave. That's been taken away, but the baseline damage, I don't remember seeing any buffs to it, so it's gonna suffer. And I'm not even sure if Resto Druids still are Nightfare right now, if they use Convoke. Even if they are, they might not use Convoke for Boomy, for Owl Weaving, which means that their damage kind of drops a little bit more as well. So right now, Resto Druid, just looking at the top guilds clearing Mythic right now, is kind of like in between Mistweaver. Okay, so C tier is more or less relative. It's important to understand that Resto Druid is just between Holy and Mistweaver. That's why we kind of separated them like this, so that you know that there's a slight difference between each and...
I mean, definitely Resto Druid can definitely prove to have a little bit more defensive uses, like, you know, Barskin and such, when compared to, I would say, Mistweaver. But
Roar is pretty
just
good
utility don't even get me started. But I think what drains it down just a tad bit is its lower damage and a bit lower on the HPS side when compared to Mistweaver. Now, let's move on to the final on the list, which is Resto Shaman.
Still pretty solid up there.
Yes.
It's very reminiscent of like the second part of Nathria, where it's kind of fell behind Paladin and Discipline Priest, because if I recall, when we started looking at Restore Shaman at the beginning of Nathria, it was kind of like number 1, but it's been dropped a little bit, and I think it deserves its fair place into 8 tier.
Oh yeah.
We're all familiar with the super powerful Spirit Link. It has really good throughput. It spreads healing a little bit with Riptide, and basically it has decent damage as well. Not still high.
It's better than Restore Druid in terms of damage. That's for sure. And in terms of like HPS, it's really close to Restore Druid, just a tad lower. I just feel that some of the things a Restore Shaman can bring are much more powerful than what a Restore Druid can bring, or a Mistweaver. Definitely, and this is why you see it more popular in the top 100 in Mythic. So that being said, not that impressed with its damage. Of course, it can opt into the damage, but it will never compare to, not even to Mistweaver.
You do have options. You do have
the ability, but I think most of the guilds bring Resto not for the damage. Actually,
that's the thing right now, because people are actually interested in making sure that people don't die, so they progress. So healers that have to sacrifice healing to deal damage are probably a little bit lower on the list, as we can see, because Restore Shaman, Mistweaver, even Holy Priest and Restore Druid, all of them can do damage, but they do sacrifice their healing, as opposed to Discipline Priest and Holy Paladin, which have their damage incorporated into their healing rotation. So that's probably why the discrepancy is like this. But then again, like we said, guys, all of these are viable in Sanctum of Domination. So just because you want to play Holy Priest and your guild is telling you, man, you need to play Discipline, doesn't mean you have to play Discipline. It's still pretty good. Our Holy Priest is just messing the meters up, man.
Yeah, pumping every time. And you gotta understand, what you're looking at now is basically a very early on, I would say, tier list. As Flame mentioned in the intro, not everybody cleared Mythic, so it's still up for grabs what things will look like in a month or 2 from now. We can possibly see some changes or even more tuning to some of the healer specs. But if you're doing heroic, if you're just trying to chill and enjoy some minor competitive aspects of the game, any of these specs will do just fine. And the comparison to Holy Priest to Discipline, if you are in that situation where somebody would ask you to change from Holy to Disc, man, listen, this priest ain't an easy pony to get going, if you know what I'm saying. I mean, you cannot just switch from Holy to Disc and just do amazingly. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
it's one of the most complicated specs to play and pull off properly. So that being said, it looks pretty good. I mean, the spreading out is...
It's interesting that we managed to actually spread them out through the entire tier list. I know some people are gonna foam at the mouth and start to get triggered in the comments. But there is a slight difference between each and one of them, and we did wanted to point it out because I think that's a little bit interesting. But like we said, D tier doesn't mean it's dead, and S tier doesn't mean if you don't have S tier you're not gonna clear the raid. So it's pretty good. Surprisingly, with all the issues of Shadowlands, they've done a pretty decent job at balancing specs this time around compared to BFA at the very least. Obviously the balance is never gonna be perfect, but it's decent enough where you shouldn't feel bad about playing an underperforming spec.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. And you know what's never an underperforming spec? Our Patreons, baby, because that's how we do segues, and we are grateful and very thankful for all of you who are supporting the content, the class guides, the podcast for the class specs.
Appreciate it.
The on cooldown series on Wednesdays, and the TLF shows on Fridays. So thank you very much for supporting. Yeah, it is Friday today. How about that? And also, if you wanted to join the team that way and check out the cool perks, check the link in the description. Everything is over there. That being said, big salute to all of our Twitch viewers, followers, and subs. We love you all, and to our Discord gang. It's been weird times living and playing this game of ours. We are hoping and supporting change within Blizzard and in the game. And for now, we're trying to find the positives wherever we can. So thank you for sticking around.
Thank you for watching the video. See you next time. Let's
what is this?
I don't know. Is this? Did I do this? Did you start with this?
I don't know. It's
like here's hand movement.
Okay, you have a great weekend, okay? Bye.
This is so fucking weird.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classic or retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.